I'm your host, Shirley Thompson, and welcome to Unity of Vancouver. We warmly welcome all people, all faiths, and all lifestyles. Unity of Vancouver is situated on the ancestral, unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, who have lived here since time immemorial, and it is here that we work, live, and learn together. Our mission at Unity is to build personal and community well-being through universal spirituals and practices. Now, please join me in our opening invocation. Together, there is one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. So today's daily word is wisdom. Wisdom guides my words and actions. When I have felt torn trying to decide which way to go or how to handle a trying situation, I may have asked in prayer for insight and guidance. As I have grown spiritually, I've come to realize that any insight and guidance I could need are within me, aspects of my divine inheritance. Divine wisdom is my ability to intuit, to sense, and discern my best choice. I pay attention to my hunches, flashes of inspiration, and the whispers of guidance I feel in my quiet moments. I believe they are divinely inspired, even if they surprise me. In confidence and with gratitude, I move in the direction of my highest good, trusting in my innate wisdom. Today, our talk is about everyday wisdom in the Sufi teachings. So let's begin with a few affirmations to bring the room into a frequency of alignment with divine intelligence and appreciation of today's messages. All together now. My heart is open to the infinite possibilities of spiritual growth and enlightenment. I am a vessel of love and compassion, emanating kindness to all beings. In every moment, I choose to see the beauty and wisdom in life's challenges. My soul is connected to the universal source of all wisdom and knowledge. In silence and stillness, I find the answers to my deepest questions. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. So today, we welcome Imam Jamal Rahman. Jamal is a popular speaker and author of numerous books on Islam, Sufi spirituality, and interfaith relations. Along with his interfaith amigos, he has been featured in the New York Times, CBS News, BBC, and various NPR programs. Jamal is co-founder and Muslim Sufi imam at Interfaith Community Sanctuary and adjunct faculty at Seattle University. Jamal's talk today is entitled Everyday Wisdom of the Sufi Teachings, and we are excited to announce that Jamal has agreed to offer a Q&A session today after the talk. So if you have any questions or anything you'd like to know more about, grab a seat near the stage on the lower level at 12:30, and Jamal will be happy to go into greater detail. And now, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Jamal Rahman. There he is.
Thank you so much for that very gracious introduction. I'm deeply honored and delighted to be here in these semi-circles of love. You know, I'm borrowing from a wonderful utterance by the 13th century sage Rumi, who exclaimed, "Please come out of the circle of time and enter the circle of love." And now the Lord's Prayer in the Aramaic language.
Please stand.
Holy Spirit, creator and life of all, you create a space inside us and fill it with your presence. Our oneness now prevails. Your one desire flows through ours as energy fills all forms. You give us this day our physical and spiritual nourishment. You untangle the knots of error that bind us as we also release others. We don't let appearances make us forgetful of the source. We're born free to act from the highest nature. From your presence comes the glorious harmony of life. Now these words are fertile ground from which our future grows. Amen.
My dear friend, let's start with a prayer, which is a recitation from the Qur'an, the first chapter. And the good news is it's a very short chapter, actually. So I'd like you to join me by chanting HU, who, in the Islamic tradition, who is the equivalent of Aum in the Eastern traditions. So give it some voice. Who, and keep on going. Who, keep on going. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Malik Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم الصراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. In essence, this prayer says, "O Allah, you're the God of all of humanity, all compassionate, all aware. Please guide all of humanity on the straight path to you." So now let's do a short meditation. Be comfortable where you are. And then just gently close your eyes. Focus on the nostril and simply be present with the in-breath and the out-breath. Just this much for a few moments. Feeling more and more relaxed, calm, tranquil. And now, letting go of this, eyes still closed, but this time, focusing on the lowest part of the spine, the first chakra. Chakra means in Sanskrit, wheel like opening. Just by focusing on the lowest part of the spine, it activates the first chakra. And now, make an intention. Intention equals action in the subtle realms. intention to send a beautiful cord of divine light flowing from the first chakra, going down, way down, deep, deep, deep into Mother Earth, connecting us to the womb of Mother Earth, feeling grounded, rooted, a sense of belonging, support. Okay, letting go of that. And this time, focusing on the crown of the head, crown chakra. And then through intention, radiating a beautiful cord of divine light, any color, from the crown chakra upwards, upwards, way up, higher, 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 even higher, piercing those mysterious realms and connecting us to the heart of heaven, mysterious realms. And now letting go of that, and this time focusing on the physical heart, an amazing organ. The Prophet Muhammad said that God in a dream spoke to him and said, "Tell this to humanity." God said, "I cannot be contained in the space of the earth. I cannot be contained in the space of the heavens, but I can be contained in the space of the pure, loving heart." So spirit, divinity, God is outside of us and also inside of us in the innermost chambers of our heart. Divine heart is inside human heart. The space of the human heart is actually infinite, boundless. And our mystics say, this is a wonderful opportunity, a beautiful time to focus on the heart and tell the heart, "I love you," with feeling, unabashedly. I love you. If that's not comfortable, change it to, "You are loved. You are loved." And now let go of this. And this time focusing on the heart and just through intention pouring out light and love. This opens up the heart, radiating light and love. And please know you can do this technique of telling the heart, "I love you," and pouring out light and love from the heart in your meditation as also in your waking hours. I'll be quiet now, simply focusing on the heart and from time to time sending out light and love. And now gently letting go of this as I do a chant, which is the invocation at the beginning of almost every chapter of the Qur'an. The words are, "In the name of God who is boundlessly compassionate, infinitely merciful, La ilaha illallah." Oh God, you're boundlessly compassionate, infinitely merciful, and it's all one. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. One more time. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. And opening your eyes whenever you're ready. So the topic is wisdom of Sufi mystics. So a question you might ask is, what is this Sufi business? What is Sufism? Very misunderstood. Sufism is actually the mystical aspect of Islam. It is not a denomination, like many people think. It's simply a heartfelt aspiration to live the spirit of the tradition and not to get involved in these unnecessary theological disputations. So Rumi, some of you might have heard of Rumi, 13th century sage, the most widely read poet in America, by the way, for 15, 20 years now. Rumi has a metaphor. He says, you know, when you get involved in unnecessary theological disputations, you're like a bird that ties its snare around its leg and unties it. Then makes the snare even more complex and unties it again and makes it, next time, even more complex and unties it to show off its strange skill, forgetting the point is to escape. How beautiful it is to smell the freshness of the meadows and soar into the vastness of the sky. Sufis, as I said, simply want to live the spirit of the tradition. So today I'm going to talk about some spiritual insights through three particular Islamic sages. You might know them. The first one is the 13th century sage Rumi. Second one is 14th century sage Hafiz. Who knows Hafiz? Oh, wonderful. Okay, he's Persian, 14th century. And the third one is a very beloved female sage named Rabia. Anybody know Rabia? Wonderful, okay. So what is important to know is all of these sages, their teachings are rooted in the spiritual teachings of the Qur'an. Why is the Qur'an so misunderstood? Let me backtrack. Every holy book has two kinds of verses. Doesn't matter which holy book it is. What are those two kinds of verses? Particular and universal. Particular verses are in desperate need of historical and textual context. Universal verses are timeless, placeless, and filled with wisdom. After 9/11, the only verses you have heard are those particular verses. And they've been compared to universal verses of other holy books. So today, I'm going to talk about those insights by these sages rooted in the universal verses of the Quran. See, Rumi, who, by the way, Rumi did not write. Rumi's poetry comes from Rumi going into a trance, uttering words, and his family and friends would write them down. So Rumi exclaimed, I am a slave of the Quran. I am dust on the path of Muhammad. The 14th century sage Hafiz, some of you know Hafiz, that's not his real name. His real name is Muhammad Shamsuddin. Hafiz is just a title given to someone who has memorized the Quran from one page, first page to the last page. Rabia, the beloved 8th, 9th century female sage, she would spend nights just meditating on verses of the Quran. Okay, so let me start with Rumi. what is the main thrust of Rumi's insight, his plea to us? He is imploring. He says, his main plea is, please, I beg you, he says, open your heart. My heart got opened up, and when my heart opened up, magic happened. I began to hear voices from those mysterious realms, and I uttered them, I repeated them, and that is Rumi poetry. He says, if it happened to me, it can definitely happen to you. So his famous words, please don't disregard this invisible world. There is traffic and trade in those invisible realms. His famous poetry, flee not the invisible world. Flee not the invisible world, for it is a place of income. And this visible world, this place of more or less, is a place of expenditure. Flee not the invisible world, for it is a place of income. And this visible world, this place of more or less, is a place of expenditure. And Rumi says, if you know my life, I was totally in my head. You might not know this, but in his 20s, he was a very famous professor, adoring students. So what is his story? How did his heart open up? There was a wonderful teacher named Shams-e-Tabriz, who was a hippie, but devoted to God, and he was in possession of divine secrets. And it's like hot coal. When you're in possession of divine secrets, you really want to share this with somebody, but he could find nobody he could share it with. And he prayed to God continuously, is there no one I can share these divine secrets with? And finally, one day, a voice from the realms came, there is one. His name is Jalaluddin Rumi. Go in this direction. He did. It led to a big walled place with a garden. And who was in the garden? Rumi, with his adoring students, going over some very valuable manuscripts. And Shams-e-Tabriz scaled the wall, jumped into the courtyard, came in the presence of Rumi, who was going over this manuscript, and Shams said, what is all this teaching? What is all this? And everybody was so startled at this long-haired hippie guy from nowhere. And rudely, Rumi said, you won't understand, like you, hippie guy, what will you know? You won't understand. What did Shams-e-Tabriz do? He grabbed those manuscripts. There was a water fountain. He put it in the water fountain. Everybody was aghast. These are so valuable. And Rumi came to take it out. Shams-e-Tabriz said, stop. And he began to take each page out. But as he took each page out, they became bone dry. Rumi said, what is this? Shams-e-Tabriz said, you won't understand. And from that time on, Rumi realized there is great mystery in the invisible realms. And there was a wonderful getting together of this teacher and student, so many practices to just open up the heart. And when his heart opened up, he began to say, Rumi began to write, not write, he didn't write. He would utter, my God, my heart is opened up. I hear bird song in the egg. I hear bird song in the egg. So when his heart opened up, the Sufis say he moved from a knowledge of the tongue to a knowledge of the heart. And that is different. Mystery of God. There's several verses in the Qur'an which talk about the mystery of the God. The Qur'an says, if all the trees in the universe became pens and the 7 oceans became ink, and you began to write out the mystery of God, and the oceans were depleted, and again you began to write out the mysteries of God, you wouldn't come close to describing a fraction of the fraction of the fraction of God's mysteries. As was his modality, Rumi would read a Quranic verse, go into a trance, and he uttered, sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment. Sell your cleverness and by bewilderment. And Rumi would request each one of us, allow that to perfume your heart. Sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment. Mystery of the self. Who am I? Of course, I am water and clay, my personality. And what is personality? Let me use the words of the Buddha. What is personality? Nothing more than a bundle of conditioned reactions to life's circumstances. But I'm also my Christ nature, Buddha nature, Elohim nature, Krishna nature, Allah nature. So when Rumi's heart opened up, he began to look at everybody and he would just burst into poetry. You are a ruby. You are a ruby in the midst of granite. You are a ruby in the midst of granite. How long will you continue to deceive us? For we can see the look in your eyes. So please return to the root of your real self. You are a ruby in the midst of granite. How long will you continue to deceive us? For we can see the look in your eyes. So please return to the root of your real self. What about the mystery of life? We are drenched in mystery. Where did I come from? What am I doing here? Where am I going? Of course, this is all knowledge of the tongue. When you get to be my age, you realize, oh my God, where am I going when I die? It becomes more real. It's a knowledge of the heart. And why am I here? The Prophet Muhammad said that God came to him or revealed something to him in a dream, that God said, I was a secret treasure and I long to be known. And so I created you and the worlds, visible and invisible. I was a secret treasure and I longed to be known. And so I created you and the worlds, visible and invisible. Well, as Rumi, as I said, he was effusive with poetry and did not write. He just went into a trance. And he came up with these words, yes, yes, yes. There is a kiss we want all our lives, a touch of spirit on the body. There is a kiss we want all our lives, a touch of spirit on the body. Okay, so how do we accomplish this closeness to God? Many ways, of course. One universal way is, as the Qur'an says, can you be silent? The Qur'an says, in silence, angels and the Spirit descend. Once again, Rumi goes into a trance. And he comes up with these words. And there are many words. Let me just give a few of his inspirational words. He says, silence is not the absence of sound. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the absence of the little self. I, me, me, me. Another one. Silence is the language of God. Everything else is a poor translation. Silence is the language of God. Everything else is a poor translation. Let me give you one more. In silence, the branches of your intelligence grows new leaves. In silence, the branches of your intelligence grows new leaves. So ask yourself, do I practice silence? If you study Buddhism, Lord Buddha said, if you really want to be awakened, you have to practice some form of silence. It is essential. So make a commitment, some form of silence, be in nature, even jogging, but silence, not the absence of sound, the absence of the little self, the I, me, me, me. Okay, what other ways? Prayers, communicating with God. supplications. The Qur'an says, pray in the small watches of the morning, when impressions are the strongest and words most eloquent. Everybody's asleep. When impressions are strongest, words most eloquent. Rumi, again, trance. No one knows what makes the soul wake up so happy. No one knows what makes the soul wake up so happy. Just maybe a dawn breeze has blown away the veil from the face of God. No one knows what makes the soul wake up so happy. Just maybe the dawn breeze has blown away the veil from the face of God. Brother Jamal, don't go back to sleep. Don't go back to sleep. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell. Don't go back to sleep. The breeze at dawn has secrets to share, to tell. Okay, but now I come to the main topic of Rumi's insights, poetry. All this is very wonderful, but Jamal, you've got to do the inner inconvenient work. Twofold. One is to become a better human being, a more developed, more Christ-like, Buddha-like, Elohim-like. And this involves some work. What is the work? To transform my ego from a commanding master into a personal assistant. Requires a lot of compassionate self-witnessing. That's a whole subject by itself. And then the Quran says, there's more. You've got to purify your heart. The Quran says you've got to remove the rust on your heart which builds when you have negative thoughts. You do negative behavior. And Rumi, of course, goes into a trance. Brother Jamal, if you get irritated by every rub, how will the mirror of your heart ever be polished? If you get irritated by every rub, how will the mirror of your heart ever be polished? The Quran goes on. Not only purifying the heart, you've got to open your heart. This is a world of opposites. Every religion says it's a world of opposites. High is defined by low, long by short. There are joys and there are bound to be sorrows. Can I embrace both? Don't run towards pain and suffering. Just don't run away from it. I repeat, this is Rumi emphasizes again and again. Don't run towards pain and suffering. Just don't run away from it. Carl Jung, you know Carl Jung, the Western psychologist. What did he say? Jamal, would you once in your life have the grace and the courage? Would you once in your life have the grace and courage to kiss the demons and dragons within you? That is how they turn into a prince or princess. So this is a whole different subject. You know, I teach some classes on how to embrace your joys and your sorrows. They're also sacred. Rumi, again in a trance, take a pickaxe and break open your stony heart. The heart's matrix is glutted with rubies. Springs of laughter are buried in your chest. Take a pickaxe and break open your stony heart. The heart's matrix is glutted with rubies. Springs of laughter are buried in your chest. And when the heart opens up, what's the big deal about the heart opening up? So much more space for joy to flow in. You've heard of Khalil Gibran? The more that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy it can contain. Again, what Rumi says, don't run towards pain and suffering. Don't run towards difficult feeling. Just don't run away from it. And also when your heart opens up with that inner spaciousness, you realize all is one. What happened to Rumi when he looked at different religions? Again, that outburst. What is praised is one. What is praised is one. So the praise is also one. So many jugs being poured into a huge basin. So many jugs being poured into a huge basin. All these religions, all these songs, it's really just one song. The differences are just illusion and vanity. What is praised is one. Therefore, the praise is also one. So many jugs being poured into a huge basin. All these religions, all these songs, it's really just one song. The differences are just illusion and vanity. And when the heart opens up, and this is the other part of life purpose. Remember I said there are twofold purposes of life. No matter what you're doing in life, dramas, melodramas, that's part of our life. One part is to become a more complete, developed human being, more Christ-like. The other part is to be of service to God's creation. And when my heart opens up, I have a greater capacity to be of service to God's creation. Like Rumi says, to be a lamp, a lifeboat, or a ladder. To be a lamp, a lifeboat, or a ladder to God's creation. The Qur'an repeats again and again, righteous deeds, righteous deeds, righteous deeds. You'll be surprised, the Qur'an says it doesn't matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter what your gender is. What takes you to heaven are two things. One is having faith in something higher than human personality. And the second one is, it repeats itself, doing righteous deeds, righteous deeds, righteous deeds. So Rumi says, Brother Jamal, when you die on the day of liberation, you'll have to leave all of your wealth, all of your titles at your palace. Oh, it's wonderful. You have, and I do have a wonderful family, wonderful friends, but they can only accompany you up to the gravesite. What propels you forward, what pushes you forward is a record of righteous deeds. And doing righteous deeds, as all the great masters say, for example, if you read the Book of Joy by Desmond Tutu, Dalai Lama, they reflect what a Bengali poet Tagore wrote. I slept and dreamt life was joy. I awoke and found life was service. I served and lo, service was joy. I slept and dreamt life was joy. I awoke and found life was service. I served and lo, service was joy. Okay, my friends, I'm looking at the time. Either I speak faster or cut down my talk here. So I shall be discreet here. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Rabia. That female sage, 8th century, 9th century, very devoted to God, very devoted to God. I love best what she used to do. She's from Iraq, by the way, 8th century, 9th century. She would run the streets of Basra with a torch of fire and a pail of water. What are you doing, Rabia? With the torch of fire, pail of water? I'm going to set fire to the sensual pleasures of heaven. And with the pail of water, quench the fires of hell. Her prayer was always, oh God, if I worship you for fear of hell, burn me in hell. If I worship you for the greed of all those rewards, bar me from its gates. But if I worship you for your sake, I beg you, begrudge me not your everlasting beauty. So I ask myself, ask yourself, what is my motivation for doing good deeds, right speech? Is it based on fear of hell or a greed for heaven? Rabia says that's not a way to live. Do it because it's the right thing to do, because of your love for God. And she was a very deeply devoted devotee of God. She has so many stories, so I'm going to choose some of the stories of Rabia. One day, Rabia was passing by, again, the streets of Basra, and she saw this very famous Sufi master preaching to these adoring hundreds of students, and the master was saying, Allah is so compassionate, Allah is so compassionate. All you have to do is knock on Allah's door again and again and again. Keep knocking on Allah's door, and because Allah is so compassionate, one day the door will open. Rabia said, brother, when was the door ever closed? The teacher stands up and bows to her. The Qur'an says, Allah is closer to you than your jugular vein. Okay, let me say one more to end Rabia's very famous story. It has gone all over the world, based on a verse from the Qur'an, that Allah will not change your condition unless you change something in your heart, unless you do some inner work. So this story, I'm sure you know it. In those days, no electricity, but pillars with fire on top. Rabia is looking for a lost key. She cannot find the key. Because she's famous, the entire village or town joins her. And they cannot find the key. After some hours, they say, dear Rabia, can you kind of tell us whereabouts you might have dropped it so we can better focus our search? She says, actually, I did not drop my key here. I lost it miles away in my house over there. In your house over there? Why don't you look for the key in your house? She said, simple. My house has no light at all. There's so much light out here. So they laughed. She says, you've laughed. This tells me you're intelligent people. But now you tell me. When you have lost your peace of mind, your happiness, because of a failed relationship out there, an idea which did not transpire, a plan that did not work. Did you lose it out there? You did part of it, but you really lost it in here, inside you. But of course, it's so much more dim to look inside here, so much more inconvenient. You spend all your time focusing on the outside. That's good, but you really lost it inside here. That's called looking for things in the right direction. By the way, I just thought, another poet I love very much from South Asia, Mirza Ghalib, who says, you've got to do the inner inconvenient work. He says, Brother Jamal, your face was dirty. Your face was unclean. But you're obsessed with cleaning and cleaning and cleaning the mirror. Your face was unclean, but you were obsessed with cleaning and cleaning the mirror. Okay, let me forget the other stories. Let me go on the last one, Hafiz, 14th century Hafiz. Let me just tell one story of Hafiz. Hafiz was not a particularly good-looking person, very poor, a baker's assistant, but once while delivering bread to a noble house, he glimpsed the daughter of the nobleman on the balcony, and he fell in love with her and just yearned for her. And he had heard that if you pray for 40 days a night at a particular shrine of a saint, your wish will be granted. The story goes that he did that. Although he was very busy in the daytime, he spent 40 nights awake, as much as he could, praising God, thanking God. And sure enough, an angel appeared and said, what is your wish? It'll be granted. But the angel was so beautiful, so dazzling, so angelic, so radiant, that when Hafiz saw the angel, he realized she was the form, this is the essence. And he said, I want to be enveloped with this kind of beauty. This is the kind of beauty I want. This is the kind of love I want. And the angel said, you can get it, but you've got to do the inner inconvenient work. And he did, but he suffered a lot. It was very hard work. Plus, many members of his family died. But a lot of beautiful poetry came out of it. In times of suffering, he wrote this poetry, something missing in my heart tonight. Something missing in my heart tonight has made my eyes so soft, my voice so tender, my need for God absolutely clear. In times of suffering, something missing in my heart tonight has made my eyes so soft, my voice so tender, my need for God absolutely clear. But remember Khalil Gibran, the more that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy it can contain. So he did a lot of what you call, well, let me call it laughter therapy. A lot of his poetry is filled with laughter, and he has this wonderful poetry in which he's very rebellious, but he says, what is this love and laughter bubbling up from within me? What is this love and laughter bubbling up from within me? He says, listen to my answer. It's the sound of a soul waking up. And he says, God wants to see more laughter, more playfulness in your eyes, because that is your greatest witness to God. God wants to see more laughter, more playfulness in your eyes, because that is your greatest witness to God. Can I just go 1 or 2 minutes over? Yeah. So therefore, I believe, and a lot of people say that poets like Rumi, Hafiz, were influenced by a fictional character who came up in the 13th century. He has several names. Mullah Nasruddin. Anybody heard of Mullah Nasruddin? Oh, wonderful. Filled with humor. But these are humorous stories to awaken us to some powerful insights. You know, I work with, since 9/11, with a rabbi and a pastor. We are called the Interfaith Amigos, and we travel the country sharing a message of inclusivity. The most favorite story whenever we go in different places is about this fictional mullah who goes to work. Lunchtime, opens his lunch pail box. What does he find? A cheese sandwich. Second day, third day, fourth day, it's always a lousy cheese sandwich. 10th day, I'm getting sick and tired of this lousy cheese sandwich. So his puzzled coworker said, Mullah, why don't you ask your wife, be polite, to make you a different kind of sandwich? I'm not married. Who makes them? I do. So, story of our lives. We are caught in patterns of behavior. We blame this, we blame bad luck, we blame that. We don't realize our part in creating it. So just be with her for a few moments. Okay, another quick one, which really, you know, I live in Seattle. You know, a lot of things are happening in America. So this is a relevant story. The mullah is on his constitutional walk on a moonlit night. He's walking on a moonlit night and happens to peer into a well, and he's shocked. Why is he shocked? Astounded. Because the moon has fallen into the well. Oh, Sister Moon, fear not, I am here, I will take care of you. He rushes home, finds a hook, a big rope, and he flings it inside the well. He catches something as he heaves and pulls, and something comes loose, and he falls on his back and sees the moon restored to its proper domain. And he says, thank God I came along. It's about our pride, our ego. Oh, okay. Maybe just one or two more. Truth. This is a very big problem. Do I speak the truth? Or is it truth of convenience? Ask yourself, is it truth or truth of convenience? The mullah is going to have a big party because he has invited 30, 40 people, but he has no large pot. He goes to his neighbor's house. He knows housewife has a wonderful large pot. He says, can I borrow your large pot? She doesn't want to give the pot, but the rules of hospitality, reluctantly, she gives a large pot. The next day, the mullah returns with that huge pot and a small pot. She says, what's a small pot? Madam, says the mullah, didn't you know? Your pot was pregnant. It gave birth. She says, I kind of suspected that. Thank you. Thank you for taking care of the delivery. Next month, the mullah comes again. I want to have this big party, and she's delighted to give the large pot. But then the day after, the week after, the month after, no mullah. So she knocks on his door. Where's my pot? Madam, didn't you know your pot was pregnant again? And I'm so sorry to tell you, it died in childbirth. Ridiculous, says the housewife. How can a pot be pregnant? Madam, you believed it the first time. Truth and truth of convenience. So now, my friends, I have to be hospitable and not overextend myself. One last mullah story, then I'll finish. And this is a relevant one. The mullah is in London Museum, and there's a very famous learned professor who says, this is about 10,000 years old. Mullah says, excuse me, it's 10,004 years old. The guide is a bit annoyed, but doesn't say anything. This is 50,000 years old. Excuse me, it's 50,004 years old, Now he's quite annoyed. Happens a third time. This is like 100,000 years old, this object. Excuse me, it's 100,004 years old. Now the guy says, sir, you have a turban, you have a beard, I know you come from the mystical East, but how can you be so laser precise about those dates? Simple, says the mullah. I was here 4 years ago. At that time, you mentioned those dates. So what is this about in life? It is later than you think. It is later than I think. My friends, I thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much for your graciousness and generosity. Thank you.
Oh, so wonderful. And we can go back and watch it again on because there's so many stories, so many takeaways. Okay. Sunshine, your eyes, dewdrops, and dragonflies. I'm so grateful I'm alive. 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 Your voice, waterfall, sparrow song, coyote call. I'm so grateful I'm alive. I'm so grateful I'm alive. I'm so grateful I'm alive. Sing it with me. I'm so grateful I'm alive. I'm so grateful I'm alive. I'm so grateful I'm alive. The shadows I conceal, endeavor to reveal another part of me, embracing all that I receive. Yeah. Grass, jasmine blue, honeysuckle in your room. I'm so grateful I'm alive. 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 Let's do that again. I'm so grateful I'm alive. 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 One more. I'm so grateful I'm alive. 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 Thank you.
So let's give it up one more time for the wonderful Beverly Elliott and Bill Costin. Woo! And thank you, Jamal, for such an inspiring, wonderful, fun talk.
It was my
We love you. Thank you. And if you were intrigued by the depth of Jamal's wisdom, just a reminder that there's a Q&A after the service at the downstairs stage beginning at 12:30. So grab your coffee and cookies and get your questions answered. And now, coming up at Unity, our Enlightened Manifestation 2-evening workshop is fast approaching and will begin on Wednesday, March the 5th, and Wednesday, March the 12th. This 2-evening workshop is led by our own Randy Purcell, who will provide you with practical processes to help you manifest more effectively. You'll learn proven principles that will help you leverage mind power, intention, quantum physics, and meditation to achieve true happiness and freedom from worry. Most importantly, you'll leave this workshop with a clear plan and the next steps to co-create your deepest desires. This course is offered by donation and once again is live here at the Unity Center beginning the evening of March 5th. And you are cordially invited to join us for the Gifts of Sacred Service with Reverend Vicki Vanderhorst. This high-energy workshop will help you discover how your strengths can create lasting impact. Together, we'll explore a spirit-led, spirit-fed model that fosters personal and collective growth through sacred service. Reverend Vicki warmly invites everyone to join this transformative experience completely free. She brings a fresh, inspiring approach to service, moving beyond traditional volunteers and committees. Having shared this dynamic model at Unity Centers across Canada and the U.S., she now invites you to be part of this exciting movement. Bring your lunch. The workshop will be held after the service on March the 2nd between 1:15 and 3:30 in the lower level. If you're also interested in becoming a prayer chaplain, please join us on Sunday, March the 2nd from 12:40 to 1:10 in the upstairs boardroom. This informal session will provide information on the Unity Prayer Chaplain program, what are the criteria in becoming a prayer chaplain, and along with the details on the roles and responsibilities. And just to let you know as well, there will be a membership meeting after the service on March 23rd. So anyone who wishes to become a member of Unity of Vancouver, you can attend this session right after the service. It'll be about half an hour to 45 minutes. That's all that's required. And our Course in Miracles study group is live at Unity every Tuesday from 12:30 to 2:30 in the lower level. And finally, just a reminder, you're invited to join our Sunday morning mastermind group. This powerful meeting strengthens your intentions through the unconditional support of mastermind prayer partners. Mastermind meetings enable us to support each other unconditionally. No experience is needed, so why not check a meeting out? It's downstairs in the meditation room every Sunday from 10 to 10:30 in the lower level. To have a confidential prayer with a prayer chaplain, simply come up to the front here after all the music's finished, and you'll find a prayer chaplain in the front row ready to support you in strictest of confidence. And now as we bring our gathering to a close, please stand. Let us join together in our prayer for protection, followed by our peace song. All together now. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Now please stay standing and we'll sing the peace song. Let there be peace on earth and
If you're on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. We send you our love and look forward to seeing you next week.